Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast, starts now.
Coach, man. Woo. Well, everybody, welcome back to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. I'm here and joined by my co-host, Coach Ralph. Man, I'm tired.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very typical game in the history of Liverpool Football Club since I've been supporting them. The game appears to be drifting out. The result, like they haven't got a win. They've thrown away a lead, and then all of a sudden, bang, bang, 4-2. And
Coach, a lot to talk about. Talk about.
Yes, yeah, very much so.
Well, the lineup, I think if we start there, kind of what we expected. No real surprises there. Obviously, Gravenberch suspended for this game, so we knew he wasn't going to be there. Other than that, really no surprises, right? I mean, pretty straightforward.
Excuse me. Yeah. I mean, it was the team, as you say, that we expected. And I mean, it's hard to evaluate the performance overall because there were a lot of characteristics that were very much early season, very much. Like there wasn't quite that flow to the play. And to be honest, I thought quite a lot of the passing was sloppy when they had time and space. I don't know if you felt that way as well, Salim.
Yeah. I have written down here disjointed, and I think that's going to just come with time. You can see little moments of quick passing, and you can see what it's going to potentially look like. But yeah, I completely agree with you, Coach. Sloppy, disjointed, but I think it's kind of to be expected, right? We know that there's a lot of new players. This is now the transition season, as we talked about. But Coach, very early VAR nonsense. Here we go. First game, 12th, 13th minute. Senesi, gets it all wrong. Literally reaches out with his hand, nicks the ball with his finger, and puts Ekitike off, and nothing.
Yeah, I think they said that on the television. We're only 13 minutes into the first game of the season, and already there's a VAR controversy. And I mean, look, to be honest with you, I mean, I didn't see anything in the play at the time. Now, VAR is there for a reason, which is to pick up things which are difficult to see. And when you see the playback, I mean, he definitely makes a swipe at the ball. I mean, it's not kind of did he or didn't he? He does. Mm-hmm. So that kind of says, well, there's no real point having VAR because 13 minutes in, as the commentator said, and there's already controversy. So yeah, but anyway, the game went on, and I guess Bournemouth got away with one there.
Coach, in the 37th minute, Ekitike strikes again. Coach, that was a very nice little link-up play with McAllister. Ekitike kind of drifted to the left. McAllister came, he passed it to him, and Ekitike saw a big gap in the middle, made the run, got the ball. A little fortunate off the deflection from Senesi, but serves him right for that handball, I guess. And Ekitike puts it away calmly. Coach, we have a star on our hands, I think.
Yeah, he's Ekitike from the two games or the two competitive games we've seen him play in so far. Very, very impressive. I mean, he's very skillful. He's mobile. He's a bit of a beanpole, but he's physical. He's physical. I mean, like he's not frightened to get stuck in and compete for the ball. That was something I wondered about before he came to Anfield. And I mean, he's dealing with the physical side of the game very, very well. And yes, you're right. I think he did have some good fortune. But what was impressive was he just kind of kept his cool, looked at the goalie, and then just calmly slotted it in. And so, yeah, I mean, he's clearly a quality player.
Coach, when we talk about the physicality of the game, it seemed like Florian Wirtz is going to have to get accustomed to it. He was getting bumped off the ball a little bit. Now, I don't necessarily think he had a bad game, but I think there's going to be a little bit more of an adjustment period for him. What are your thoughts about his play today?
Very much similar to what we've seen through pre-season. There are lots of flashes of what he can do, but I don't know whether it's the system right now. And obviously, he's a new guy fitting in with a range of players that he's not familiar playing with. So yeah, I think it will take time. But overall, I think the thing with Florian Wirtz is. And I think it's more of a team thing as well, is what is the manager going to do going forward tactically with the team? So I don't know if you want to go through the game first, and then maybe we can come back to the overall picture. I mean, because there's a couple of big games against top teams coming up in Newcastle and with Arsenal. So, yeah, I think there's a lot to be taken forward tactically into those particular games.
Yeah, let's cover the rest of it, and then we'll circle back to the tactics. So,
right.
Coach, second half starts. Liverpool seems to kind of start having a flow, and Gakpo cuts in from the left side from a nice pass from Ekitike, who found a nice little pocket in the left area of the box. Gakpo cuts in, he gives it to him, a couple fakes, and then slots it bottom right-hand corner. Nice goal. Typical kind of Gakpo goal when he cuts in and kind of hits it with his right foot. But I like the patience he had. He kind of pump faked once and then put it away.
He did. I have a feeling that Iraola won't be happy with it because, first of all, it's something that Gakpo likes to do. So I'm sure they must have talked about it before the game. And then he actually takes quite a lot of touches when really he might have been closed down a little bit better. But yeah. I mean, he certainly, again, Ekitike slotted home the first one calmly, and we're using the word slot again, and he certainly slotted that one into the corner. So he was in control, and I think basically because Bournemouth sat off him, he was unable to do that.
Yeah, in the 60th minute, Frimpong and Kirkes come out to a surprise of Endo and Robo. Robo, we know, left back, but Endo was playing right back for a little bit. And it would make sense about 10, 12 minutes later, but Semenyo and Bournemouth. Semenyo is, first of all, a physical monster. I mean, he is so impressive from a physical standpoint. He's a good player. And Bournemouth just kind of caught us on a break. Kind of been the story of preseason a little bit too. And was that Brooks, I think, on the left-hand side?
Right.
Gets by, was all alone. Konate cannot close him down, and I think we need to talk about him a little bit today too. But beautiful ball across one time. Semenyo's there, puts it away, and all of a sudden we have a match.
Yeah, I mean, Semenyo, he's a very similar player in my mind to Kudus, who went from West Ham to Tottenham, and kind of surprised that clubs really didn't go after him during the summer, because he had an awesome season last year, and he's a really good attacking option. And I think tactically that it was pretty clear in the first half that they kind of targeted Kirkes. He's not a big guy, and they had the big guy Semenyo pushed up high on him, trying to compete in the air and take advantage of the height. But he took the goal well. Brooks, it was a great ball in, but overall, I have to say, and I was in contact with a friend before the game, and he was forecasting the game, and my forecast in response was, can Liverpool keep a clean sheet? And I think it's pretty evident right now that they can't. So lots for Arne Slot to consider with some big games coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So about 12 minutes later, McAllister and Ekitike come off, and Curtis Jones and Joe Gomez come on. It was a great surprise to hear Joe Gomez on the field. I must have not seen that in the pregame that he was on the bench, but that makes sense now because Joe Gomez slides to the right back, pushes Endo up to the midfield. and Curtis Jones just replaces McAllister. It was very dicey for a little while, especially with the way Bournemouth were coming at us. And before you know it, 76th minute, Semenyo again. I mean, takes the ball from, I think Salah lost the ball, passed it to Szoboszlai, but it wasn't a very good pass. And Semenyo just takes the ball from box to box, makes mincemeat out of Konate, and puts it away. I mean, an incredible goal.
Right. Well, first of all, I'd kind of noted earlier that a lot of Liverpool's passing was very, very sloppy. And the second goal for Bournemouth actually comes from that situation. So there's two issues. I mean, it was a pretty simple ball for Salah to find Szoboszlai on the edge of the box. He doesn't. And then all of a sudden, Liverpool have so many players push forward. Basically, you've got the two central defenders. And I think you've got to give credit to Semenyo because they had all kinds of overlaps. But he had a lot of confidence in himself, and I think Van Dijk and Konate are thinking, well, he's going to dish it, and he doesn't. And as I say, he has the confidence and he scores. And it was a very good goal by a very good player.
I'm thinking now, what is happening? Doomsday scenarios in my mind. And then Chiesa comes in, which was a surprise, and he delivers in the 88th minute. Mayhem in the box, and he coolly just hits it outside of his boot. Volley right past Petrovic, 3-2, and the stadium is rocking.
Look, that's goal by Chiesa. I mean, that is a goal scored by a top player. I mean, that's not a tap in. I mean, the way he kind of balances himself to get off a shot, because he seemed to be kind of half falling backwards. And yet he just has the ability to steer the ball into the corner. I mean, even if he hadn't have come on in this game, my thinking is that Chiesa is certainly going to stay at Liverpool for the season. Because if you analyse the situation, if Arne Slot wants 5 strikers, he's got Ekitike now, and he's got 2 returners. He's got Gakpo and he's got Salah. So will they get Isaac? Isak? Will they get Isak? Maybe, but whether they do or they don't, Chiesa is going to be the next guy in line. So I think he's already shown that he has the ability to maybe play the Diogo Jota role. Actually, maybe fill in for that slot. I think that might well be his role.
It was nice to see him score. He's been ravaged by injuries. Last year was kind of tough for him. He was nicked up here and there, didn't get on the field a lot. And for him to score in front of the Kop, and you can tell he has a love for this club for sure. But it was just really good to see him score. And then 94th minute, Endo in the midfield just kind of kicks one up in the air. Mo Salah out of nowhere jets from the right to the left, gets the ball, collects it, has all sorts of options. We all knew he wasn't passing that ball. And right foot, bottom right corner, game over, 4-2. Unbelievable.
Well, you've got to give a lot of credit to Mo Salah because, I've been writing him off a little bit in my newsletters and my posts and everything. And obviously we have to wait and see what happens over the course of the season. But when you consider, basically he chased the ball down and the player who he's playing against had just come on as a substitute. So he's a young lad, he's fresh, but yet here we are 90 plus minutes into the game. How old is Salah now? Like 33 or something like that. He still musters up the energy and the determination to get over there, win the ball. Yeah, you're right. Cut inside, and yes, we know what's happening next. And even on his weak foot, he was going for goal, and he did, and he scored. So, yeah, you have to give him tremendous credit for that.
Other than that moment, I mean, there was a moment in the first 4 minutes where he cut in and hit one with his left and forced a save out of Petrovic, but not a great game for Mo Salah. Um, I think you take the goal out and you're thinking, wow. Coach, I know you just mentioned, hey, we're going to have to see kind of how things, play out throughout the season. Has he lost another half step?
Possibly, but I slightly disagree with you about his overall performance against Crystal Palace. He just wasn't involved. I thought he was much more involved in this game. I mean, like, he did make some very fundamental errors, and I think you heard Lee Dixon. I think he made a comment about him. He either does something that's fundamentally simple poorly. Those weren't his exact words, but I think that's the gist of what he's saying.
Yeah,
and it was something totally incredible. So I think that's just the way that Mo Salah is, and so probably not a great game, but much more involved than he was at Wembley. So I think that's a plus going forward. But some of the issues that we've kind of highlighted before about his role within the squad this year. Will he be willing to come out or, maybe not start a game and all this kind of stuff and rotate? These are all things that are to be determined, as they say. And we have to wait and see how that pans out.
Yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is I know he was involved. It's just he didn't do much with the ball when he was involved. He was losing it. He was kind of tripping over his feet a little bit. It just didn't seem like the confident Mo Salah when he gets it out there one-on-one or even when somebody else closes in. I think if I were to rate his day today, I would say 6 out of 10. Am I off there, Coach?
No. I would give him a 6, and I think most of the players were a 6 today. So I think that's the realistic appraisal of Liverpool's performance. I mean, like, there were some good signs. There were some signs that maybe weren't quite so positive, but not a top performance all round. And okay, I think you look at the bigger picture. Early in the season, lots of new players, a certain amount of emotion because of all the tributes to Diogo Jota, and all of these things can be factors. But I mean, I would say it was an okay performance. It wasn't good and it wasn't bad. It was just okay.
Okay, so tactically speaking, what did you see? What is there anything really surprising of what happened today, or what can we expect to see moving forward?
Well, I think that the biggest thing for me going forward, you're coming in where you're going to play two of the top teams, from that top group of the Premier League, in Newcastle away, which obviously has an added twist to it this year because of the exact situation. So, I mean, like, that is going to be one physical game, and St James's Park is going to be absolutely a bear pit. So it's going to be a physical game, and then you're coming up against Arsenal, which is, Arsenal versus Liverpool, two of the favoured teams for the title. And both Newcastle and Arsenal are very strong in the midfield. And so there's two broad issues as I see from a personnel point of view. First of all, will playing 4-2-3-1 against teams that both have three very strong midfielders, is that going to work? Now, you'd kind of highlighted Wirtz, and I think it is going to take him time to acclimatise. So do you put him into a game where he's coming up against the like of Guimaraes and Rice, players like that who are physical? Or do you put him in a situation where maybe he has a little more time, a little more space? And so, I just feel that playing 4-2-3-1 against those two teams would be a gamble, especially the way that things are shaping up right now. And then I also think it's a gamble from the point of view of the two fullbacks. So Frimpong today at Wembley, he was kind of crazy going forward all the time. He wasn't quite like that today. But one thing that I've noticed that he does defensively is he tends to get caught playing too close to the player that he's playing against. And he's not a big lad. So he can be kind of muscled out. You can roll off him easily. So I see that as a weakness. And then Kerkers so far doesn't look comfortable. I didn't think he looked comfortable against Crystal Palace, and he didn't look comfortable today. So if you think back to when Andy Robertson first came to the club, and it was Moreno was the left back at the time. Now, I never rated Alberto Moreno. He was reasonably good going forward, but he was very weak defensively. And so Andy Robertson was a player that I was aware of for a long time before he signed for Liverpool, and I thought he would be the great signing that he turned out to be. So I was kind of puzzled as to why he didn't put Robertson in, but Klopp was smart. He kind of integrated him into the squad, and then once Robertson got his chance, then he never looked back. He never looked back. Moreno never got a look in after that, and so. Doesn't mean that it has to be exactly the same with Kerkez, but I think, I think he's got to nurture him a little bit, maybe not start him in every game. So, for example, going up to St. James's Park to play Newcastle, it's going to be a really wild atmosphere. Are you better going with two defensive fullbacks or fullbacks who are better defensively and more experienced? So does he go with Andy Robertson on the left? Does he go with either Gomez or, if he's fit, Bradley on the right? So I think that's something that the manager has to consider. I mean, because they'll be put under more pressure for sure. And if you look at Newcastle, they'll have Anthony Gordon up the left-hand side of the field. He's very fast. And is Frimpong going to be able to handle him at this point of his career? Yeah. So I think the manager has to think about that. And then I think he's got to think about matching up in the midfield with Newcastle and with Arsenal in the subsequent game. So if they're all fit, I think he's got to play. Gravenberch comes back into the mix now. McAllister, who I felt looked off the pace in the first half, looked better after the interval, but obviously hasn't had a lot of game time. And then you've got Szoboszlai as well. So I think he's got to go with his three favoured midfielders from last year. So does he play Wirtz, or there's two things he can do with Wirtz? I think he would be silly not to play Ekitike because he's clearly on form. He's got confidence. So there's two things he can do, as I say. He can either use him as an impact sub, like potentially once the pace goes out of the game and space opens up, bring him on. Or alternatively, start him over on the left side for Gakpo. So I think that those would be the options, and I think that would be a better setup personally against Newcastle away and Arsenal. But obviously the manager sees the players every day, and he has a lot more insight onto what they can offer. I mean, we tend to see it in bits and pieces, but that's my feeling. He's got a problem in midfield for these two games, and he's got a problem with his fullbacks in these two games.
Yeah, I agree with you. Kerkez, he fought. It's, I mean, he was winning a couple challenges with Semenyo, but there were a couple times he was flying in and just bouncing off Semenyo, and Semenyo would just be off. So I think you have a really good point there.
Well, just on Kerkez, the yellow card that he picked up in the first half, for me,
foolish,
was, he's struggling to get into the game, so he makes a silly challenge. And I think if he was more settled, if he had more confidence, he would have just closed the man down and tried to hold him up. So that is just a byproduct right now of where he's at in terms of his place and integrating into the Liverpool system.
Yeah, yeah. Coach Gravenberch, missing the last two games. Is he the key to the continuity of the midfield and the defense?
Possibly based on what we've seen from last season. Keep in mind that that he could come into the next game. I'm sure he'll start in the next game, but he's not up to match speed yet. So everybody else has played a couple of games, or they've got a couple of games under their belt. So that is something that'll be a factor. But I think he's going to play, and I think we need him to play basically, because one of the really good things he's fantastic at, it's been highlighted, is turning in the midfield when he's under pressure. And I felt that today McAllister and Szoboszlai, who weren't at their peak form right now, they were very reluctant to do that. And I think Gravenberch that is clearly one of his big strengths.
So, Wirtz and Ekitike, I have written down here, they looked a little nervy at the start. Did you get that sense as well? A little anxious, a little nervous?
Not with Ekitike, but possibly with Wirtz, yes.
Okay. So, Coach, moving to Newcastle, if we were to put Wirtz out on the left, he would probably be going up against Trippier, or who else would be over there? Livramento,
yeah. I think Trippier is the backup.
So you mentioned maybe bringing him in when the game kind of settles down a little bit would be a good idea, but also we know that he can kind of bust things open. It's a tough call for Arne Slot, because you mentioned the physicality of the game, and then you also have Gakpo, who's, as far as matching Bournemouth's physicality, Gakpo was not bothered by it at all. I thought he had a really good game today, and I mentioned last podcast for the Community Shield, I wasn't too impressed with him, but I thought he had a good game. He matched their physicality, won a bunch of free kicks, obviously scored the goal, and was a threat. Would it be wise to keep him in there just for the physicality reasons, or do you think that Wirtz should be in there to start? Because I completely agree with you. The midfield has to be solid from a foundation standpoint, and then we can build off that.
Yes. I would personally, I would start Gakpo. I'd start the midfield from last season, as I said earlier. Gakpo on the left, Salah on the right, Ekitike up front. And then, I think it's very foreseeable that Liverpool will be under pressure early in the game. I think that's very foreseeable. So I think that you've got to go in with the mindset, that you compete with the opposition. And then obviously you look to break. I think that this is a game where you're going to see counter-attacking Liverpool. Now, clearly, Florian Wirtz, when he's got confidence and he's in the flow of the game, he's somebody that has the creativity to maybe spring attackers. But I just feel that because it's early in his Liverpool career, that you're probably better not starting him. But again, I think Arne Slot sees him and will know his qualities. So I suppose you could play him in midfield in a slightly different role. But I know that a lot of people talk about, well, what is Liverpool's strongest team? And they usually extract Szoboszlai from the team. And yet I feel that Szoboszlai, out of all the midfield, is the one that really presses. And he's very good at it. So I would certainly be keeping him in for a game like that, which as I say, will be intense, physical, and Liverpool will have to do a lot of running and a lot of covering against a Newcastle team that is going to be up for it.
Coach, 3 points in the bag. Good start as far as that perspective is, and we have a weekend of games to watch and kind of see how everybody else does. Very, very interesting. I'm so glad the Premier League's back. I've been waiting all week for this. I watched the Super Cup on Wednesday as well, just to kind of get in the flow of things. Poor Tottenham. I thought they had that game too. But Coach, in other news, Giovanni Leone has signed officially for Liverpool. He's an 18-year-old from Parma, Italian defender, 6'4". We talked a little bit about him last time, but it's official now. Coach, do you see him in this season being influential and part of the first team, potentially overtaking anybody? Because the reason I'm mentioning that is I thought Konate looked off today. I mean, he looked leggy. He wasn't as fast as he normally is getting to the ball. I think the first goal is a highlight of it. What do you think is going to happen with Konate, and then can Leone come into the mix at some point? Maybe 5, 6, 10 games, 15 games down the line.
I can't really comment on that because I just don't know the player, and I think if Gomez is fit, that he would probably get in ahead of him. But I mean, basically, you've got the situation where they're talking to Mark Gahey, and to be honest with you, and I've no idea how they go about it. I know that the concern is potentially is how much time would Gahey get. I think I would be saying to him a lot because Konate does look off the pace. He looks unsure. And then there's the question about his future at Anfield. So I mean, I would make a big play for Gahey if they can get him at the price that they feel that works for him, because I have a feeling that Gahey he would play a lot this year, and then he's a potential successor to Virgil. So I think it makes sense, and yeah, he's probably wanting some kind of indication of game time because it's a World Cup year, but I think he'd play a lot.
Yeah, Gahey would be a great signing just from a depth perspective too. Coach, there's kind of some, little noise kind of coming up that potentially Real Madrid has a extra spot on their roster and they're looking at Konate potentially making a move now for him. If that were the case, what do we do? What does Liverpool do? Do they just say, no, thank you, you can have him next year for free, or do we sell him?
Well, I think that's up to Arne Slot. I mean, historically, Real Madrid like to wait for these players, so they get them for free. But I think the fact is that Real Madrid has a new manager, and it sounds like he's identified that that they have all these stars up front that they're maybe lacking at the back. So I would say that if they're going to be prepared to pay for him now and not wait for a year, then if they've got Mark Gahey coming in, I would say go for it.
Yeah. It was nice to see Joe Gomez on the field, Coach. We hope he stays healthy because we know he's a good player when healthy. You mentioned him potentially moving inside if Konate is off the pace or gets moved. Potentially give Gahey some extra time to bed in a little bit. But from the right back perspective, Bradley, when he becomes healthy, does he displace Frimpong? Because I didn't think Frimpong had a bad game. I mean, he was great kind of sprinting forward, but you mentioned he gets a little bit too tight to people, and it's a physical league. They just kind of roll him and get by him. So what's the play there? Is it Bradley, and then give Mo Salah some time on the bench. And what I mean by that is, pull him off 70 minutes and bring Frimpong in to add some acceleration.
I think that overall that Slot will do what he did last year with the fullbacks. I mean, basically you had Trent and Bradley shared time on the right. Robertson and Tsimikas shared time on the left, and I think that's very likely in the manager's mind to do the same this year. So it could be, I don't think Frimpong will start every game. I mean, because of his pace, make a great impact sub potentially. I think Kerkers will start a lot more, but as I say right now, he just doesn't look comfortable. So I wouldn't be surprised him using Robertson more, and then maybe as the season progresses, obviously depending how things pan out, I think Kerkers will get more and more time because I think he's a little more solid defensively and is also capable of offering something in attack.
All right. Well, Coach, from a fantasy football perspective, I had Ekatike, yay. And the mini league code is Z8RJEV. So we'd love for you guys to join us. Coach, how did your fantasy team do, or I guess who did you select?
Well, I haven't looked, to be honest with you. Maybe I'll do that now.
So I can go first on this. I went with a strong forward line, and I went without Mo Salah. And for most of the game today, I was saying, okay, you made a good choice. Obviously, in the 94th minute, Mo Salah scores, and everybody who has him and has him captained, well done to you. But I went from the front line, I went with Watkins, Holland, and Ekatike. In my midfield, I have Rogers, Palmer, Reinders, Verts, and Dewsbury Hall. And then my defense is Dorgu from Man United, Milenkovic, Van de Ven, Reinaldo, Reinildo, and De Kuiper. And then I have Sells and Dubravka in goal. And I played my bench boost first week just to get it out of the way because we have 3 chips that you can use in the first half of the season and 3 chips you can use in the second half of the season.
Okay, so actually, I'm struggling with this new
the new app.
Yeah. I mean, because it's showing me the team for the second week. Oh, hold on, game week history. I see it now. So, okay, it's still okay. So here we are. I had 3 Liverpool players. Virgil, who still got 3 points, even though I suspect he probably lost some because we gave up 2 goals. I had Verts, 2 points, and then I had Ekatike.
All right.
So I'm on 14 points, and I, like you, have used the bench boost as well. So we will see how that pans out. We'll see how it pans out for the games over the weekend.
Well, Coach, exciting times. First week. What a great game to start. I think that's all we got for today, guys. Coach, is there anything else you want to mention?
Not really, except I hate Monday night games. So I guess we've got a long wait. Actually, Arne Slot will probably be happy about that because it gives more time to work on the practice field and hopefully some of these players like Bradley who have knocks can maybe come back into the mix. And of course, it seems that Ben Doak is going to Bournemouth. I don't know if you heard that.
I did. 25 million. Yep.
So I think Liverpool's interest in the transfer market is going to continue, not just with Isak and Guéhi, but with players being transferred. So I mean, Elliott didn't get a sniff today, so I wouldn't be surprised if he goes. Because they're going to get at least 40 million for them. And apparently, Doak's going for 25, and I think Simicast will probably go as well. I think Leeds are interested in him. So, no idea what his transfer fee would be, but probably, that's 80 million, or it'll certainly cover Gahey.
For sure.
Yeah. So I think that whereas in the past during the FSG era, you've had players like Torres, you've had players like Suarez, and then Coutinho that all went for big money, and then they used that money to sign players. This time they've actually done a Chelsea, in as much as sell a lot of players and then use it to basically to refresh the squad. So I don't think it'll be like that every transfer window, but at this moment in time, that seems to be the plan for the remaining couple of weeks of the transfer window.
Yeah, the net spend is reasonable. I think it's after Leone and the Ben Doak deal, I think it's a little bit north of £100 million. So, yeah. I mean, that's not bad. Coach, thank you so much as always for your insight. Liverpool fans and those listening on podcasts and those watching on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe or follow. Would love to hear your thoughts. Go ahead and put some comments down. We're interested in hearing what your thoughts are on the match. And other than that, we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye now.
Coach and I want to take a second to thank everybody for watching on YouTube or whether you're listening via podcast. Please subscribe or follow the show wherever you consume your content. We are looking forward to continuing to bring you the best Liverpool content out there. We'll see you next time.